The regular session of the Madison County Board of Education for Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 is in session. Ms. Stowe, would you kindly lead us in prayer?
Most precious and holy Father, we come before you tonight, thanking you for the many blessings that you have given us. And we just ask, Lord, that you would guide us as we go through this meeting and as we go through the process of selecting new leadership for this system. And we just ask that we put this in your hands, and we ask for your guidance through every step. We ask all of these things in the precious and holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
All right, item B, I recommend approval of the agenda dated September 17th, 2019.
I have a recommendation for the approval of the agenda dated September 17th, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of the agenda. Any discussion? If there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Item C, I recommend approval of the minutes dated August 19th and August 22nd, and amended minutes for August 8th, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the minutes dated August 19th, 2019, and August 22nd, 2019, and amended minutes for August 8th of 2019. Is there any discussion?
What was the amendment?
Correct the vote on the nomination.
Okay. Okay.
Any additional discussion or questions? If there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Down administrative items. Item A, I recommend approval of the deletions of property as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the deletions of property as submitted. Any discussion? If there is no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 On to item B, I recommend approval of the following personnel items as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of the following personnel items as submitted. Is there any discussion? I'll give everybody a few seconds to look through that. Ken, are we pretty much at the end of the hiring process for the year so far?
Yeah, there's been a few that have gone to other systems that, but we're trickled down. So we're pretty well staffed.
The water faucet's being turned off?
We can still use bus drivers though here.
No, thanks.
I noticed Madison City has a billboard advertising for
On
drivers.
565, right? Yeah. Yeah. Any additional discussion on the personnel items? If there is none, all those in favor say aye.
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 On to item C, I recommend approval of the following contracts for services.
Motion.
Second.
And I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of contracts for services. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Item D, I recommend approval of the following supplemental contracts as submitted.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of supplements as attached. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 Turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, that takes care of all of the administrative items. I will now get to the part of the meeting that I think everybody is anxiously awaiting. Not that this was not that the other stuff wasn't exciting. We have with us tonight a representative from the Alabama Association of School Boards, Dr. Tim Morgan, who helped lead our school system in the search for a new superintendent. And I will, without further ado, turn it over to Mr. Morgan, and he can begin his presentation.
I saved these till now because I knew you'd open them and look like high school students. at the end.
Jeez, how did he guess?
In there is,
Human.
at the very back of those, Nathan, is the summary of the 5. So if you turn to that,
Thank you.
I'm gonna peek over your shoulder, Dave.
I wish now that I hadn't let my bus license go, I'd have a job. But I don't think I could go back through that and pass the exam again. This process, in this, you had over 40 people apply for your superintendent position. Majority came from the state of Alabama. You had candidates from Georgia, North Carolina, New Jersey, Michigan, California. So Madison County is the place that they would like to be. And it's an attractive district, and especially across our state, everyone, you're well known. And and these 5 candidates here tonight, they're very strong, each and every one of these. They would not be on the list if we didn't think they would do a good job as your superintendent. You have the great challenge of deciding which one is the right fit for you. I guess I could go ahead. Time to begin. We'll begin. This is the alphabetical order, so it's not like these are our choices. We'll start with alphabetical order, and we'll start with the first one. The first one is Mr. Anthony J. Buckner. He goes by AJ. His current position, he's curriculum supervisor in Jackson County, right here close to you. He's also, before that, he was a curriculum supervisor in Jackson County. He was the middle school principal in Jackson County for approximately 8 years. High school assistant principal. He's been a head basketball coach, a teacher and coach, so forth. And that's our first candidate, Mr. Anthony J. Buckner. The next candidate is Dr. Greg Desjarnette. You say Desjarnette several times. You kind of get used to it after a while, but I've talked to him. I've talked to each candidate at length about this and about the position in several occasions. His current position, he's Education Administrator Supervisor at the State Department of Education. He's been there since 2014, 5 years, and before that, he was also there 2 years in a different role at the State Department. He also was a high school principal in Chilton County, Chilton County Schools in Alabama. He was Director of Transportation in Chilton County. He was Assistant Principal in Chilton County, and he was a teacher coach in Chilton County. So he spent most of his career there. And that's their second one. That's Dr. Greg Desjarnette. The next candidate is Dr. Tim Gwynn. Dr. Gwynn is from Russellville. Currently, he's Assistant Superintendent in Russellville City Schools. Before that, he's been in that role since 2016. He was the high school principal in Russellville. They only have one high school in Russellville, by the way. He was Assistant High School Principal in Russellville. He was a high school principal in Franklin County Schools, and he was a teacher coach before that. That one's Dr. Tim Gwynn. Next is Mr. Alan Perkins. And, of course, you know this gentleman probably much better than I do. He's sitting right here close to us, Director of Equity and Innovation, Madison County Board of Education. He's been in that role for a couple of years. Before that, he was Supervisor of Instruction in Madison County Schools. He was the middle school principal, I believe at Buckhorn, if I remember correctly. And he was Assistant Principal and a teacher here in Madison County. Mr. Alan Perkins. The fifth candidate, Mr. Edward Lee Willis. Goes by Lee. His current position, he's Deputy Superintendent in Morgan County Schools. He's been in that role since 2011, so that's about 8 years. He was high school assistant principal in Morgan County. He was alternative school principal in Morgan County, assistant principal, agri-science technology instructor in Lawrence County. He was also a teacher in Carbott County schools in the Shoals. So these are our 5 candidates. I feel very strongly about these. These are some top-notch people here that you're going to meet. And I told each one of them that I asked that they not tell their board or tell their supervisor until the day so that the word wouldn't get out. I have another packet that I want to give you. In here is some pointers for interview tips, things to do, things to get you not to get in trouble. And by the way, I will email you. I've got your email here. I brought it with me because I was afraid I'd push send by accident today. The video clip is easier in there. It's easier if I send it to you and you can click on it. Okay? I'll send that to you either tonight when I get home or tomorrow. Either Nathan.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
This is a packet on how not to get in trouble.
Yes.
Can I have another one of those?
You probably need one.
And we've met twice.
Yeah, you're fine.
Interview guide, it's the very first sheet, things to do and not to do. Okay? I think you're ahead of the game and you've been working on questions. And Dave is on top of it. You're going to tweak them a little bit more and you're going to send them to your candidates. And you're going to send them X amount of days before each one, like who's going to be up at first, and who's going to be, okay? And one of your candidates is up for some award next week. I think they're in the superintendent academy too. So they asked if they go the following week. So Dave can work that out. So I suggest question bank. You've done that. I shared some too. There's some questions I would like for you to look at here. I believe it's behind this sheet here.
I put mine away.
Some common sense questions for you. That you wouldn't turn this in. That's not it. 'Cause I've looked at mine several times. That you would sit down and ask yourself, after each night, quiet time at home, about this candidate, because they're going to kind of get jumbled together with you, okay? Is this a person for us? Is this a strong financial person? Is he a good instructional leader? You know, all these candidates not going to be the strongest in them, okay? You've got to decide who's going to be the right fit for you. And after meeting with each one of you, I believe you're going to speak your mind, and I believe you're going to like each other at the end of the day. This is probably one of the most important jobs you've ever done as a board member, is selecting your next superintendent. I mean, this, as you know from back history, of course, but I really think you're going to choose the right one for you. And you're going to get bombarded from here. You're going to, this candidate's this way, this is this one. You're going to have favorites that employees. And I ask you to reach out to your relatives to, maybe they're working or teaching Russell, maybe they teach in Jackson County, maybe they teach in Morgan County, or another, you know where I'm going from. What do they really like? And really get the lowdown, because there's going to be good and bad. When you work in education, you can ask all the educators here. I've done some things, that haven't been the most popular thing, especially if I've terminated them or half the people in the shows I paddled. So I've got some Indians out there, and if you're in education, you would, guys, I'm leaving you, but I'll be glad to come back over here you or to work with you, because I want this to work out for you. I want to hear good things about, because if I remember correctly, 77% of your employees think you're heading in the right direction. So that says something good about your leader sitting here at the front, your board members here, and your past superintendent. Okay? Dave is going to call in tonight, congratulate him, and he'll work on setting up the interviews, and he's on top of it about sending questions, and so you're doing 3 next week, I understand, and 2 the following week?
Correct.
The 2 the following week, you're going to do Monday, Tuesday?
Mhm.
I hope you meet on Thursday night to begin superintendent discussion.
Yeah, that is the plan.
One old coach says, the cream will come to the top. I'm hoping that that's obvious when you get through, that every one of you seem to like candidate number 2, candidate 3, okay? There's nothing wrong with bringing them back. Bring back 2. I worked in one system where we came to 2, and adjourned the meeting, and we come back a week later, and talked about those 2 some more. So, just do what you have to do to get that right one, okay? It's almost like we feel like we need to have prayer before we leave. Because I'll be thinking about you, because this is huge for your system. Great place to work. Over 40 people applied. Now, some of them might have worked at a restaurant or something, but they applied. I looked at it. I've talked to a lot of people, okay? Any questions for me? I will email you the video link, okay? There's one other thing I've got to give you. I hate to give it to you. It's a test that each one of them took. Now, in your packet is the information, questions that they answered,
Thank you.
in this, some of them may not have come out, one of them may have come out not really good comparison. But that gentleman is very strong, he's got a very military background. So I would not let this sheet of paper interfere with anybody that I selected. Because again, these 5 are good, strong candidates, okay? But AASD puts that together. They actually sent that to me today. Dave, anything for me?
Ask the board, do you have any questions or any concerns or any issues you want to bring up with Dr. Morgan before he departs?
I do want to express our appreciation,
Yeah.
but I also want, are you available by email if as we're going through this, there's a question or a
Yes.
clarification
Email
needed?
me, call me. If I don't answer, in the last few weeks, I've answered calls from here to California. So, sometimes I went a trip, and sometimes I said they're applying for the superintendent position. Yes, call me, email me, text me.
Okay.
I think you all have my information from past emails, so forth. If you want to ask me about any of these candidates too.
I don't have a question about a candidate yet, but I would like the opportunity, and I would imagine that somebody in our system could get this as well, but each one of these candidates comes from a county or a city system. I'd like to know the size of those systems. Just in a brief glance through, I didn't see anywhere where there was a breakdown of what the size of those systems were. Yeah.
Maybe in the future, we need to include that, Russell City Schools. Russell is a 6A school, and I don't know the size of the district.
I can get that, I can get that.
Yeah,
for you.
I thought that perhaps
that
it was
for you.
somebody,
Yeah, we'll get that for you.
as we're going through this, I think that's important to recognize
Yeah.
what size the county or city system is they're coming from.
That would be good to know for people in the future too.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
they're working in a district with 300 people because,
Can you just briefly review what you've done to this point to reach this? How many interviews, or what's your approach?
we took applications.
Tim, would you mind going to the podium? Thanks. That way everybody can hear what you're saying.
We took applications, of course, resumes, and this was a little different because you started the process, and then you switched over to AASB. Okay, so we had some that, that you had, and then we kind of put them all together and made spreadsheets, and we looked through every resume, every letter. I did not skip one. Even one applied last week. And I followed up and did not want to leave that person out. But that was a definitely no, so that made me feel good. I mean, that person could have been one in the top 5. And by the way, no one knows who applied. Only people know are the top 5 candidates, and that's and now after tonight, the media has it, and those districts will know. But all of them, I mean, why wouldn't I want to go to Madison County? I want to be a superintendent, and I want to be in Madison County. It's a great place to work. Okay, we met in Montgomery. We looked through these again with a group, not just me by myself. No, so it was a group. Retired people, retired superintendents, and looked through them. We narrowed the search down somewhat, not to 5. We had a shorter list, and then we asked for the videos that I think you may have requested. I've never done the videos before. And they made the shorter list, and the email that Susan Salter sent out was saying that, you know, this is the process. And we went from there, and then we narrowed it to 5. It's it was easy to get it down to, you know, 8, 9, 10. But then when you get it down below that, it's you're leaving out some good people.
So just to clarify, so the group in Montgomery met.
Yes.
At this point, you're still looking at paper.
We're still looking at paper, and then we get the videos.
And you got the video. So you haven't had one-on-one conversation?
No, except on the phone.
Oh, and that's just you and the candidate?
Yes.
Okay.
Or one of the committee members but we've talked to all of them at length. Yeah. And we talked to other people about these. We talked to references. We talked to people that's not on the reference list that may be working in a neighboring system. What are they like? What have they done? Wherever they've worked in the past. And AASB uses their legal people to do background checks and see if there's anything in their past, any lawsuits or they come up with a lot of things. And, but nothing is in these past that we know of. And, you know, they really are very thorough about, we want to make sure every rock is you know, yes. Because you hear stories across the country of, you know, and AASB wants to look good, to be honest. And I mean, I'm not employed by them. I mean, I'm just doing this as having fun. And we really want the best candidate for you. And we want you to look good because it makes AASB look good. And we want you to continue to grow and continue to flourish like you have under your past leaderships. And Sherry, is that okay?
Does anybody else have any questions or statements for Tim? Well, Dr. Morgan, again, to echo what Ms. Bates said, on behalf of the Madison County Board of Education, the Madison County School System, we appreciate your time, your efforts, that of AASB to go through the process and to help us find the 5 best candidates for us to select our next superintendent from. And we appreciate all your time and effort in doing that. And if none of them will call you this week, I will probably be the one calling you at some point this week.
Hey, that's fine. And I mean, and I really want to help. I mean, I think you know that now. I've enjoyed meeting each of you, and meeting people in the room here, Tim Hall and others, that you really have a good team here. And I mean, I'm telling the candidates, I mean, if I was a younger man, but yeah, but I'm not. So, but you've got a good leadership people in here in this room, and your central office, and your schools, and your clientele, your students, and your people. Yes, it's a good place. It's a good place.
Well, thank you, Tim. We appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Okay. There's a couple of things we have in other business real quick, and then we have a couple of things we need to tidy up as far as the interview process and the questions go here. So did you get all of the information you needed from the board members about the teacher? Okay, so everybody's good on that? All right. What I have here is two things I passed out. The first thing is a schedule for the superintendent finalists. We've discussed how we're going to do this. Talked with Dr. Minsky about the tours and the schools that we're going to visit on those days. I think it was Sherry, you had asked if we add the schools in, and I thought that was a good idea. So I picked schools at random within the clusters we're going to visit. If you guys want to change those around, that's fine. We can talk about that, and you can change them around. But I thought they give a good cross section of the system to the candidates as they go through. We can't visit every school. I wish we could take the candidate to every single school during the day, but we've only got so much time in the day, and they'd have to be here and ready to do their interview starting at 5 o'clock next Monday, the 23rd, and I'll get to that in just a minute. I did talk with Dr. Minsky this afternoon. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have the candidates meet us here at the central office at 7 a.m. There was an issue, well, what about getting their cars? And we didn't want to make it awkward for anybody to have to drive them back to a hotel to pick up their car if they're spending the night here. So we're going to have them meet us here. The two board members that will be accompanying them early in the morning will meet here. We'll come here, we'll do the breakfast, we'll do the tour of the area, then we'll come back here for lunch, do the board member swap out if there is a board member swap out at the time. Since we're all going to be meeting back here at 5 o'clock that evening or so for the interviews, it just made it simpler. That way the candidate can get into his or her car and drive away at the end of the evening, and we can as well. We're not having to shuttle people back and forth to the hotels. Joel, you have any questions on the schedule? Any concerns about the schedule that we see?
I just wanted to clarify, I've had a couple people ask, the schools that we've picked to go by, this is basically a drive-by to give the candidate the idea behind the vastness and the differences in sizes and that sort of thing. It's not to be interviewed or to make contact with people inside the school. Is that correct? 'Cause
Well,
I've heard both, and I just wanted to clarify whether the plan is to actually have a prepared presentation within that school, or?
I wouldn't think so. I think that the idea would be for just to let them go into the school, maybe meet the principal and the staff, the senior staff at that school, maybe take a brief tour of the school. Mark's got the schools. The intent would be for him to get with the individual administrators of those schools. But I don't think it's necessary. We don't have time really to do a sit-down briefing and all that,
Yeah,
but I think
even
to
going
see the school.
inside is-
Yeah, even going inside is time-consuming, but I thought it was my understanding at our last meeting that everybody thought it was a good idea to pick at least one or two schools in each cluster to have them visit.
Different candidates are visiting different schools.
That's correct.
So that's the intent.
Yeah, and they're all going to visit they're in clusters. They're going to go to Sparkman, Hazel Green, Buckhorn, Madison County, and the New Hope area, but I thought the intent by the board was to pick out several schools within those clusters for them to go and visit. If that's too much and we want to dial that back and just do the windshield tour and show them the vastness, we're going to have a briefing book in the vehicle that they will be able to take with them that'll show them what the schools are in that cluster, so they know the size and the scope of the schools. So it's entirely up to the board as to how you want to do that. If you think that even going into the schools is a bridge too far and a little bit too much for the candidate to do that day, we can dial that back too. So I'll open it up for discussion on the board.
Okay with that, I just wanted to make sure the schools were aware and that we were prepared for that, and that we had enough time to do that. I'm just looking at some of these are very doable, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be healthy for them to go into the schools, see the administration, have a conversation with them. Of course, not a whole lot of depth because we don't have time, but see the facilities and then pull out. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, and some of the schools that are on here, are going through some major renovations, so they'll be able to see some of the construction that's ongoing at some of the schools. So I thought it was a good idea when we discussed it last time, so that's why I put them on there. Look it over again this evening if you want, and if you think that maybe one of the schools is a bridge too far, or maybe we need to change it out, then we can do that. I tried to group the schools so that we were hitting maybe two schools that were pretty close together, not, too far apart while we do the drive. Go ahead.
Me and Ms. Rucker just saw this on the 23rd, from the 9 to 11:30. We said HMS. What school is that?
I thought I'm thinking Hazel Green Middle School. Hazel Green Middle School. Sorry, I should have said Hazel Green Middle School.
Meridianville Middle?
Or Meridianville Middle, I'm sorry, yeah.
So Monroe, so the first one's Monrovia Middle
Monrovia Middle.
School. and Meridian.
Yeah, so we got Meridianville Middle the next day, so let's
Yeah,
change
so I
that
was gonna
one
say we-
to,
We got those back. We got,
Hazel Green. Which one in Hazel Green do you want them to go, would you want them to go see that day? We got Monrovia Middle School, so, and you
You don't have any elementaries that day, you could do Lynn Fanning.
want to do Lynn Fanning that day, and then we can move Lynn Fanning. I think Lynn Fanning was next week, too. Yeah, I have Lynn Fanning on 1 October, but that's fine. I mean, we can, it's up to you, Nathan.
let's,
Moore's Mill Intermediate?
I was gonna say, let's put Morris Mill Intermediate. Oh, they're on the 30th. They're also on the,
Monrovia Middle's on here twice, too.
Yeah,
So it's Mount Carmel.
yeah.
That's
I
fine.
think it's fine. We can just leave that.
put Monroe.
Yeah, that's fine. Or we can go to Sparkman Middle. Well,
we put Morris Mill.
yeah, Moore's Mill's fine.
Morris Mill Intermediate.
Yeah.
Instead of the one we didn't know.
Yeah, instead of the HMS.
Yeah.
Will you let Mr. Evans know?
Yeah, I'll follow with the principal.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. And I'll clean this up tomorrow and send a clean copy out tomorrow to everybody. So, all right. So any other questions on this? Any other concerns? So the idea will be, now I'll send out a more detailed email to everybody, but the idea would be to meet here and we'll pick up the car and we'll go from here. So, all right. Okay, so the other thing was the question bank. I went through and, like, you all sent me we got the question bank from AASB a couple weeks ago. You all sent me your top questions in each category. We've still got quite a few questions in here. There's about 24 questions, I believe, total in here. That doesn't include the 5 additional questions that we're going to ask the candidate the night of. But we do need to whittle the general questions down to about 10 to 12. That's kind of AASB's guidance, and that's a pretty fair number. Trying not to keep the interviews going too long that night. I'm trying to schedule about 90 minutes for the interviews, maybe 2 hours, so that's about 5 to 8 minutes per question. I'm certainly not going to cut the candidate off. I want him to fully be able to explain what they're trying to get to in the question. But looking through this, we've got some time. What I'm going to do, and I talked it over with Dr. Morgan before the meeting, I'm going to send out the bank of questions to the candidates 4 days before their interview. So whoever interviews on the 23rd of September will get the questions on the 19th of September. And that's just to keep it equitable. That way the person that's not interviewing on the 1st of October isn't getting a bunch of interview questions 2 weeks ahead of time and having a distinct advantage over everybody else. So it'll be a 4-day increment. Whoever starts on the 23rd will get them on the 19th, the 20th, and 21st, and then again. So we've got time tonight if you want to review these again and send me your responses back tomorrow morning in an email.
Can we just go over them now?
We can go over them now. It's up to you. It's up to you if you want to just
Some
go
that
through
are
them.
redundant, I think we can just eliminate.
There are quite a few that were, and I tried to go through that and keep them from being as redundant as possible, but it was,
Like 4,
Yes.
4 and 11 are very similar.
4 and 11.
I mean, the first 4 words, anyway.
Yeah.
So I would strike 4 and go with 11.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. Everybody else in agreement on that one? Okay. So we'll go with that.
All right.
Yeah, we've got 2 in the student achievement area, so I think that's good. We have 2 in the curriculum instruction area, 1 in the financial management, 1 in the strategic planning.
And 13 and 23 are the exact same, I believe.
Yep. So let's strike 23 since we've got an abundance in that category. I also think that, if I'm looking at this correctly,
22 and 2 are,
very similar.
yeah, you need to pick one or the other.
I'd almost like to rather keep 2 than 22.
I'd agree. Yeah, number 2.
All right, so we're striking 22?
Yeah.
And 8 and 9 are not the exact same, but they're very similar.
Yeah, if you look at those two, I'm gonna go with 9 over 8.
Any, Mary Louise?
Well, like 25 and 26, I felt like those were more for probably a sitting superintendent, which I don't think we have a candidate that's a sitting superintendent. Of course, I guess if they've, conceivably, they could have done some of that, but
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we could scratch 25 and 26.
I mean, the superintendent's not the only one that can do that. Or he could give examples of how his system has done it, I guess. But
it says tell about a time you.
Have you?
Yeah, their job may not involve this.
Yeah, I think you could have somebody answer 25 and not be a superintendent.
26 definitely is one that would be more targeted towards a superintendent. Would you agree, Mary Louise?
I thought so.
Okay. So we'll scratch 26. And Nathan, youth of 8 and 9?
I think 9 is more appropriate than 8. That's just,
I'm good with that. Strike 8.
Yeah, strike 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're still at about 22.
The 13 and 28 are somewhat similar.
I'd rather keep 28 and strike 13.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you 2 instead of 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So strike 13.
We'll strike 13.
And then there's another one that's similar to that, too. The first additional one's sort of in that line.
Say what? Say again. Which one?
The last and the additional question sort of follows along that same train of thought.
Hold on one second. Number 5.
Number 1.
Number 1.
I mean, it's talking about priorities and improvements, which is the same thing 28's talking about.
To me, that number 1's a much stronger question than 28.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so we'll scratch 28.
All right, now how many do we have?
Yeah, let me count up again. Hold on one second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. Still at 21. I'm not keen on any of the ones under curriculum and instruction personally. Maybe 15.
do we address that question any other place in the career tech?
No. That's why I said I thought number.
I think that 15 is very important.
Yeah, I think that was, of the two, that was the most important of the two.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant you.
No.
Okay.
We take out 14.
That 14 is somewhat addressed by 12.
Yes.
Maybe not as broad, but
I think 12 is a little bit more in depth than 14.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're scratching 14?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure 16 is,
16 is weak.
I think so. That's what, I wasn't going to say that, but I thought.
Let's just face it, under financial management, Karen's not going to let anybody do anything that's not good. So we
Yeah.
can take out all the financial.
Yes, I agree with that. I
Well,
agree.
I mean, things can happen, though.
Well, true.
And that's certainly an area that we have a great need
The
in.
question itself is,
But the question itself, I see it's pretty vague.
yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, so we could,
Say something like, how would you approach the area of,
Right,
or something
right.
like that.
yeah.
Let them put some meat on it.
Let me,
Same thing with 17,
yeah.
you know.
Because that's already been taken care of.
Yeah, and if we're going to use it, we need to strengthen that question.
I think, I mean, we just went through that. Are we gonna have to do that again anytime soon?
I don't think before the term is up.
No, we may just need to strike that one for,
I don't think,
Trying
because
to-
we
Yeah.
have it. Yeah,
Trying to narrow it down, right?
Yeah.
right.
so we're getting rid of 17?
17, yep, scratch 17.
And modifying 16? Or are we gonna,
Well, I mean, look, let me look and see what we can do. Let me look through the bank of questions and see what I can find for 16. We'll leave it on there for now.
okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We're not down to 18, so we got to get it down to at least 15. I think that's probably the max.
Susan
Yeah.
suggested 10 with 2 extra.
Follow-ups.
Is number 18 not addressed, not as specifically, but by 25 and 26? And there's another question about employees, 14. You know, I don't know that's altogether ask how you make something smooth.
I like 27. I like what 27's asking.
Yes.
25,
I like those. I think that they, in some ways, duplicate 18. I don't particularly like 18.
I didn't like it either.
And that's what I'm saying. Part of what you're trying to elicit in 18 is going to be
Answered out of it.
in 25, 26,
Okay.
27. And they're asked much more directly with less feeling. I don't
Okay.
care how he
That's fine.
feels.
So we're getting rid of 18.
18.
I didn't like 6 or 7 either.
I didn't either.
Okay.
I agree. I think
I agree.
7's already
Yep.
answered by, and
So everybody's good with no 6, no 7.
No 6, no 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We should be getting close. Let's see.
We're at 15, and then 16, the one under financial management, we can work on. So let's try to get it down maybe 1 to 2 more, get 2 more cut, and then we should be good.
We could probably combine 12 and 20, or sort of, I think. Let's see.
Where's 20?
Say combine 12 and 20.
I mean, is it possible? It's sort of the same.
Oh. Achieving, would you ensure?
Yeah, I don't know.
One's kind of community engagement, and the other one's student achievement.
I like this. I liked 12.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
did we already say that 11 and 4?
We struck 4.
11, okay.
We kept 11. Although not description of strategy.
The additional questions, number 4 and number 1, are on this other thing is somewhat similar. Why you're interested in, part anyway.
Well, of the 2, I'd rather scratch 4 than keep 1.
Really?
My
You
choice.
just combine the elements you like.
We could.
One, yeah.
'Cause I think number 1 on the last page has several components in some of the other questions already.
We already scratched 4, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we had talked about scratching 1 on the additional questions already.
No, we kept it,
We kept it.
We kept 1, okay.
Mm-hmm.
but we scratched a whole bunch of others that were like it.
Gotcha, okay.
Didn't ask for at lunch.
But if you put pivotal belief in number 4 on the additional, I think it's pretty much all the same.
Let's just go through them one by one and see what we're going to take out.
Okay, so let's start at number 1. So, under the general,
We'll just start with that one under general, and
yeah.
we said one's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but one, the point is, one is very similar to four on the additional. So can we like get rid of one or the other?
Let me see, hold on.
I like one under general better.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah.
we're cutting 4 out on the additional?
Yes.
I just think that one is a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be fine with two not being there, but
Yeah, I don't really like it either.
Under general, scratch number 2.
no, I just said I'd be fine with it not being there. I don't know about everybody else.
Why do you say you'd be fine with it not being there? Is it
I
just
mean,
too?
you know, we're trying to narrow it down. I just think that's, you know,
I think it's a general question
Just
that's
too
going to
general.
elicit a general answer that's not going to be very
Yeah.
meaningful.
Yeah. So we're scratching number 2 under the general? Okay. Where does that leave us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Three's good.
yeah, I love three. It's good. Glad we don't have to answer.
So we're right at 15 under the bank of questions, and then we have 4 additional questions. And of the additional questions, we'll ask maybe 1 or 2 of those at the night of the interviews. So,
One thing I wanted to,
go ahead.
get to the additionals. Are we
Yeah,
there?
go ahead. You can go
I
ahead.
thought we were going through these.
We can go through them, yeah.
So number 5 is the one we're on, right?
Yeah, we're on 5. We're scratched, we're on 5.
Did you say you're scratching 5 or leaving 5?
I'm okay with 5.
Yeah.
We scratched 6.
Mm-hmm. We scratched 7.
7.
We scratched 8.
We kept
Kept
9.
9. Scratched 18.
10 and 11 would be next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with those.
I like 10. If we had to choose between those, I like 10 better than 11.
Do you think 5 and 11 are about the same, or can we scratch
what I
11?
5,
They're
We s-
similar.
Yeah, similar enough to scratch 11?
I don't know.
Or no?
You can add it in there.
You could combine.
Yeah, combine the 2.
I said we
Just
can,
say, describe your, and say, and what would you do? I mean, sort of.
yeah.
So you want to combine number 11 and number 5 of the additional questions?
No, we're just on the
Okay.
regular questions.
So,
Number 11
What
is
about-
number 5.
Isn't that number 5? Okay.
what, Cindy?
Number 5 on the first page, number 11 on the second page, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
combining?
No, they're on the same page.
But we're leaving 10,
Oh, I'm not
right?
printing out there on the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Are we
10's
leaving
10's
10 staying.
10's
Okay.
good.
10's good,
5 and 11, we need to combine.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
Combine. All right.
Just putting the first phrase in front of what would you do. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, on number 12, the second part, is anybody really going to say no?
They might.
All right, so 12's everybody likes.
I'm like, we hadn't exactly eliminated.
Yeah, you're right. One.
Combining ain't eliminating.
Right?
We scratched 13 and 14. We left 15, but we were talking.
Strengthening 16. That's what I wrote down.
So Angie, are you in favor of getting rid of 12? It is like
I
4 or
like
5
part A.
questions.
I think that part A is important, because I think that having an awareness of the importance of that particular item for any school system would be important, and if you don't know that, but I think the second part of question 12 is kind of,
It's going to just elicit yes. I mean, it's just,
I mean, nobody's going to go,
Yeah.
heck no.
We're striking the first part, keeping the second part.
So you basically want to make 12A question 12.
Yeah, I mean, because really, you're going to say hi and yes, and then get to A.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like saying, do you want to do a good job?
Sure.
So we're doing what now? Just
12A.
using the A part?
12A is the actual question.
So technically, we scratched 2 questions.
3,
No, we still have the same amount of questions.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
We scratched,
We're at 12.
we scratched 14.
We're at 12 right now.
We're at 14, actually. I miscounted.
We scratched it,
14 we got rid of.
We got rid of.
got rid of it.
15 we still have. 16 we
16, we're going to strengthen up.
Yeah, but 15 definitely stays right. So we have like 4 that we've all say definitely. So
Then were we scratched 18?
Yes.
Yep,
Yes, and we scratched 17.
Yep. Keeping 19,
yep,
keeping 20,
yep.
keeping 21.
Did we address number 20 in another question?
Question number 20 is an assumption that that's how the answer.
I don't know that I would ask why it's important to you as much as I would ask.
I'd be good with taking 20 out and just leaving 21.
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I like 20.
Take out the second.
I think you could
I think
start
on-
with,
How would
that we
you,
believe it's important, and in their role as, you know, what?
What do we even mean by groups?
20.
say again.
What is even meant by groups in that sentence or question?
I think we're talking about your stakeholders.
We might want to clarify it, because I don't know what it means.
yeah, I think there are components of 20 that are important to get an answer. I don't know that the way it's asked is really going to
Yeah.
get us what we're looking for.
Yeah, you could strike the second half of it and ask the first question appropriately, and it would cover the second part of the question too.
I think it needs to be asked
Yeah.
more like,
How would you ensure? And then get,
Stakeholder groups, is that what you would say?
okay, all stakeholders?
Stakeholder groups.
Why do you need groups?
Or just stakeholders. Yeah, take out groups.
Sure, all stakeholders, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were keeping 21.
yeah, I think that was one of the things that in the survey was important to the community.
Yeah.
20 was too, so.
24.
Did we keep 22 and 23?
No, we scratched them.
Okay, good. Let's think and eat pie.
I think we need to know 24. I do.
I agree.
That's fine.
I agree.
25.
Well, it's kind of like 21, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just from a different angle, yeah.
If you said with 21, give an example, then you've got 25.
So we could scratch 25 and keep 21.
And add to 21, give an example. I don't know if it says,
Or you could say, and give any examples.
Or you could say, instead of describe what you would, what you have. Describe specific that you have used to promote.
Okay. Take out give an example.
Yeah,
Keeping
you're really asking the same thing, just without
Yeah.
saying.
So we're keeping 21 and we're scratching 25.
Yeah.
Right.
We keeping 27.
I like it.
We're keeping that.
Okay, let me do a quick count. real quick.
26, what are we?
We scratched, I had
Scratch-
26 as being struck.
Scratch 26, okay.
Yeah.
Let me update my document here.
I already have. I guess 13 is referring specifically to student achievement, and 28 is referring to what? Because they're, see what I'm saying? One is,
28 struck
28 scratched.
Yeah, we scratched 28. So we're at 11 questions.
Done.
What we really do need to know, that they have knowledge of our system, that they've studied everything. Do we have a question that makes sure that that's the case?
Well, to answer some of these, you'd have to. One of them says, improvements thing. I mean, you'd have to kind of know to answer that. Or we had one like that. Let's see.
Well, number one of the additional questions kind of is that, if you read that one.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sherry, you talked to me earlier, you wanted to add something to,
One thing in the survey was classroom experience. We never touched on that in any of these. So I don't know.
Do we need a question, or do we just need to know that in their history they have?
It does a thumbnail sketch.
We know they have it, but do we want to know how it's going to influence what they do?
doesn't number one kind of, can't you bring that around to number one? Under general. Under general questions. I mean, we could add to it if you wanted to add that specific portion to that.
I don't know, just in reading the survey, that came up a number of times, that people were interested in that experience. And then the other thing is talking about down the road, 2022.
2022.
What happens?
Yeah,
Any sort of
2022.
Outlook on 2022. I don't know if we can say that or not, but.
That's kind,
To the election.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I have that question. Let me run that by and see if we can ask that kind of a pointed question. But I'm not, that's why I struck it. I wasn't sure we could, but we can ask Tim after the meeting and I can see if that one can be added to it. If it can be added, I don't have a problem adding it. I just want to make sure we can do so and be right. So, okay, so we're down to 11 in the question bank, and we have our 4 additional questions to ask at some point during the interview process. Is everybody good with that? I will send it out first thing tomorrow morning. If you could please look at it and give me your feedback and make sure I have everything right or make any corrections so I can get it out to the first candidate by Thursday.
Now, we got 5 candidates and 4 unrehearsed questions. Is this a problem? Are we going to ask them all?
No, the idea was to ask the additional unrehearsed question, maybe give them one
Just one of them?
of them, or possibly 2.
Depending on how much time you have left.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't matter that we have less questions than candidates?
That shouldn't,
That's
yeah.
the same question.
Because the interviews will not be televised or.
That is correct.
Record them
Everyone
and then
is
we'll post them.
finished.
Yeah, they won't be recorded live, but then they will be recorded and posted after the final interview on the 1st of October. So those that don't come to the interviews will be able to see them, but that way, we're not giving any other candidates down the road an advantage to hearing the questions and the answers to those questions.
All right,
I mean,
here's,
this goes without saying, but I guess we're going to let the candidates know that please do not show up at a previous interview. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I can highly discourage it in my conversations with the candidates, but it's kind of hard to.
so then they could technically have an advantage. I don't think they would.
Or they could send somebody here to take notes, record it.
Sure, okay.
So, I mean,
I guess I was just thinking about the delay, which I understand the delay in publishing it, but there's also other methods to get
Yeah.
access, so,
yeah.
okay.
so in these additional questions, I think number 1 is one we want to ask every one of them. be? Isn't that kind of the overall arching question?
I would agree.
So we need to make sure we do that.
Let me put that in roll. Okay. Any additional comments or questions on the question bank? All right, I will get that out to you guys tomorrow morning first thing, and then you can give me your feedback and responses, and I'll clean it up and get it out to the first candidate by the 19th. So, all right. Anything else? Anything good for the board? Anything? You look like you're like dying to say something, Angie. All right. If there is nothing else, I'd like to thank Dr. Morgan for being here this evening and providing us with a quality list of candidates for us to choose from. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but I know that everybody on the board is up to the challenge, and we're looking forward to it. So, move forward.
Any parameters we all want to agree on with the information we've been given? Like, we are going to do this and we're all not going to do this or anything like that? Or are we just on our own?
I think that the intent now is to go home and, to do your homework and to read each individual one. The only thing is we cannot, obviously, when we discuss in public. If you have any comments or questions.
We're not going to contact the candidates, or
I will contact the candidates tonight.
but we're not to.
You're not to. No, that's correct. Yeah,
So that's one parameter.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I will contact the candidates. Thank you. And if you feel the need, and there's nothing, and Dr. Morgan's standing there so he can help us out here. I don't see any problem if you want to contact a member of their Board of Education or their superintendent. But Tim?
I would say, though, to not, if we're going to do those things, which I don't mind doing, that we need to know that we're doing them, so we don't all
Right.
contact the
Yeah.
same people.
We need to
You know,
organize
We need to
it.
have an organized plan on how we're going to do it. If we're going to visit a site, whatever, we need to probably come together and figure out a plan on how we're going to do it, so.
If you choose to do that, then just send me an email, send an email to the board, and say, hey, I'm going to contact the superintendent of this candidate, or I'm going to contact the board member of this assistant superintendent of this candidate, whatever the case may be, and just let me know so that we can deconflict that with each other.
Okay.
Does that,
Sherry is right about, you get to know each board members across the state at your training, your state meetings, and you may have, you can call somebody and what's so-and-so like, what do you tell me, he's a finalist for our position, and listen out, and Nathan is, you don't want, like, as I'm the superintendent of so-and-so district, I don't want 5 calls, I'd rather just have one. So if Nathan's calling the superintendent of so-and-so that Nathan represents, then he's got to come back and report to the rest of what they said. So that's true, Nathan. I wouldn't want to get 5 calls. So if you know me personally from other meetings or something as a board member, yes, call me and I'll be honest with you.
good point. Mary Louise, you're the veteran on the board who's already done this. Any comments for the board?
Well, I would kind of think that we might wait to contact someone till we've done the interview. And then we would have the next day, to reach out to somebody if that's what we want to do. We did do that before.
Did you wait until you had narrowed it down to, say, 2 to 3 candidates, or did you guys
We
contact
did.
each one of them? So you waited till the board had kind of come together after all the interviews were done, and then when you had it narrowed down to 2 or 3 candidates, that's when you made the phone calls?
But that may not have been the best way. I don't know.
Okay.
And then what if we get, comments from other people? Are we supposed to just harbor those, or are we supposed to
No,
share?
I think you need to share those with the individual board members. If you hear things or hear something positive or negative about a candidate, I think it's appropriate to share them with the board.
Send them to you, and you'll manage the distribution? Okay.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful not to send it out to everybody, because that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep. And chances are, probably, if you are contacted by somebody with a positive or particularly a negative comment about a candidate, my likelihood is to send it to Cynthia and then let her be the arbiter of that information out to the individual board members. Hopefully that will not happen. Hopefully that we won't have that, but you never know. You never, yeah, and you never know. It's right. For four of us, this is a very brand new experience, so. Anything else? Any other comments or anything else for the good of the board? Well, again, thank you, Tim. I appreciate your time and energy, and I appreciate the board's and the employees, the staff's cooperation during this process. Y'all have done a great job. The superintendent's office looks awesome. It looks very nice. So whoever does come in and take on this role and responsibility will have not a brand new, but a clean and nicer looking office than in the past. So thank you very much for that.
Can roll the chairs now.
That's right. Got rid of that awful carpet. Thanks. All right, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, or any discussion, I should say? There is none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much for attending. Meeting's adjourned.